Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. Okay, so we're going to take you on a little journey today. So the theme of this video is it's about, I'm trying to put it into a phrase, into a sentence. There's something that's holding you back in life. Something that you're afraid of, something you're ashamed of, something that someone did to you. Okay? And I guess I could probably put it better in a question. If you were to let go of that one thing that would allow you to move forward in life, to thrive, to be free emotionally, to be free physically, to just go and live your life, to thrive, to live, to be free, to fly, what would that be? And how much would your life change if you finally let that go? Alright, so we're going to talk about, I just found her name. Her name's Saint Veronica. Apparently she's a saint. So it was the woman that bled for 12 years. The woman that Jesus healed of bleeding. So I'm going to talk about that because it inspired this video. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how I'm going to use a vague term, things tend to get stuck to you, okay? And we're going to talk kind of about curses, but not necessarily in the scary way, but how verbally and words are curses or they're spells, okay? And how things get stuck to you, and they're really a lot simpler than you think. After Jesus healed the woman of bleeding, he had pronounced, "She's clean," and she was smiling and everybody was clapping, and then this guy in the crowd said, "Oh, she's the unclean," and he goes, "I said she's clean." And the guy kind of was like, whoa, he kind of took a step back, because here's the deal, he was trying to recurse her without even realizing he was doing it. And this whole illusion in the first place, which is what it always was destroying her happiness, her joy, her experience here on life, on not just Earth, but in this three-dimensional plane that God created for us. This three-dimensional plane was created so we could experience contrast, light, dark, love, hate, happiness, sadness, so we can begin to blend it and begin to learn how to work through it and learn how to, it's like learning how to play guitar. In the beginning, you suck at it, but after a period of time, you start to flow, and that is why you're here, to learn how to flow with, in a vague word, we could use energies. Whether it's from making a relationship flow to where a relationship is building energy instead of draining energy, to learning how to sing in a band, to learning how to sing in a choir. You have to blend in and you become more powerful as a group. See, life was always meant to be enjoyed from the very get-go. Life is a gift that was meant to be enjoyed, and the gift came from God. And thank God, literally, I have a very open mind, and I was always very open-minded, so I would just try these new things because I wanted to find out. Why? Because I had suffered from tremendous anxiety and sadness and a tremendous amount of abuse, and I wanted to escape. I wanted out. So the video of Jesus healing the woman of bleeding, there was something after that I saw, and it stood out to me, and I was like, oh, and that's what this video's about. Alright, so now let's go back to about 25, probably actually about 30 plus years, when I studied NLP, hypnosis, HUNA, timeline therapy in Hawaii. So essentially I went because of neuro-linguistic programming. The other courses I didn't even realize. I just knew, like, this is what I wanted because I was a psychology student, and NLP is a form of cognitive and behavioral psychology. It's an advanced form, which is a lot faster, a lot more effective, and I fell in love with, like, this is, honestly, I want to tell you something real quick. When I was in psychology classes, probably the third semester, second year, I just remember, like, because we kept hearing about how Freud, how his teeth had rotted out because he had done so much cocaine. He was the king of cocaine heads. And I'm just like, this is the guy that we're studying it? Like, Freud, he's been dead for over 100 years. And one of the realizations, in fact, I think it was the professor had said, he goes, well, the reason why Freud was so powerful, because he did more cocaine than everyone else, and his voice was louder, and he yelled more, and therefore he was right, and therefore what we now know comes from him. Now, mind you, this professor was saying this in a very proud way. It wasn't like, oh, he's this horrible monster, he did all these drugs. No, he was like, oh, yeah, he did more cocaine, and because of that, he was more confident. Because of that, what he said was just accepted. Now, here's the thing. I had been in therapy off and on for a couple years at that point, and it wasn't working. Like, nothing was helping, and I was struggling. And I remember in psychology class just kind of closing my eyes and just kind of saying to myself, or maybe even praying to God, like, God, there has to be something better than this. There has to be something that can help me. Because the whole reason why I went to psychology was not to become a psychologist. It's because I wanted to find a way to heal myself, or find a modality, and then maybe find someone who's mastered that modality so they could help me. So, I don't know if it was the next semester or what, but I went to a couple Tony Robbins seminars. I was in love with this. I thought it was awesome. The technology, the new psychology. I had made some shifts, and I thought, oh, this is incredible. And so I took out a student loan to go to a 5-week training in Hawaii. Not Tony Robbins, but another one, Dr. Tad James. And Donna Morabito was there, and John Overdurf, and Julie Silverthorne, etc. There, and then David, he was from England, I can't remember his name. He was another one of the head trainers. So the purpose of sharing all that is I went there for NLP. In fact, I don't even think I noticed that hypnosis was on the curriculum. I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was down. I just didn't care. It's like, yeah, whatever. It's like all I remember is I went there for NLP. But it was the hypnosis which made me realize what happens on an unconscious level. And then they introduced us to energy healing, a form of Huna. And then we went through practitioner and master practitioner of timeline therapy, and that blew my mind. Now, another segment of the training, now this was like 9 hours a day, so we were in class constantly. And we had taken a training before this to get to this training too. So it was kind of like you have to go from one training to another. So it wasn't just like one training. I went for years. So the thing about it was they were talking about consciousness. Now you got to remember I was a blonde blue American kid, Christian in the box, so to speak. I was in the box, but I was very open-minded at the same time. And they started talking about consciousness and how our beliefs affect us physically, and how it can cause diseases, and how emotions can cause diseases, and can cause this and cause that. And they talked about how you'll start to become conscious of it, and you'll be able to see it in yourself and others. Now you have to understand, I was a very young man. I think I was 20, 21 years old, something like that. And this was all new to me. Okay, luckily I had taken psychology classes that I had to kind of prepare me for this. And I took Tony Robbins, the 3-day and the 5-day trainings. So it prepared me a little more, so it wasn't a complete mind blown thing. Because there was a lot of cognitive dissonance, which caused my brain to kind of have a conflict, like massive emotional conflict. And at one point I literally broke down and cried. But it opened me up to a new world and a new understanding. So I'm going to say it was the middle of the second week. So I'm going to say, 10 days into the training, me and my roommate, Rob, we went out into the hotel lobby, which, by the way, is open. There's no walls. There's no windows. It's just this like roof. So if it rains, you don't get rained on. So we're sitting on the couches, and I watched this old man and his wife get out of the taxi cab, and he was hunched over, and I mean a big hunchback. He had this bulge, his head was all the way down, and he was looking sideways to walk, and the thing that astounded me was I was like, oh, that's all in his mind. Now what caught me off guard was my roommate Rob, because he wasn't as astute, and he definitely didn't believe this stuff. Now I was open to it, but I I was like, until I had that moment, I would not. I still didn't believe. I was like, yeah, I hear what they're saying. It sounds wonderful, but it kind of sounds out there, man. And he looks at me and goes, Michael, do you see that? And I'm like, wait, what are you seeing? He goes, it's all in his mind. He goes, that's just, and I was like, yes. And so we started talking about this. So here's the realization I had. A lot of the ailments that we have, a lot of the emotional issues that we have, even physical, it's not real. It's something that you're recreating in your own emotional system. And maybe that's what I meant by it's all in their head. It's like it's in your nervous system. So I come home and I'm just talking to people at college, helping them overcome their phobias and fears. And I'm like, man, this is just too freaking easy. And I was having fun with it. It was a blast. And so then an extended family member, their parent, she was about, I think she was in her mid to late 50s, something like that. Maybe not late 50s, but probably mid 50s. And she was dying of cancer. This was like the third or fourth time she's been in the hospital over the decades. And she was back again. And I just was like, something was not right. So I had spoken to the husband before, at Christmas and stuff like that. He was he was the father figure of the family. And I just remember I just felt so drained by this guy every time I talked to him. Like now that I know what a narcissist is, like, oh, that guy's like, I can look back and say, yeah, but back then all I knew was this guy just sucks the life out of you. Like that was one of those times when I was very conscious of it. So I walk into the room. She's in bed and there's, family members around. And I remember looking at her and I remember going, oh, this is just emotional. This emotional experience is not the people there, but what was happening to her from the husband. He was just draining her constantly. This is what was causing cancer. And the fact that it kept coming back, I just thought that was really suspect too. So it was just all my experiences and understanding what energy is and how emotions affect it, is I realized like, oh, she could be healed from this. In fact, I'd even mentioned like, you should send her to a good energy healer, and the whole family just blew it off. But so I pulled one of her sons and said, hey, like what do you got to lose? And he's like, oh, we don't believe in that stuff. I'm like, dude, your mother is dying. Well, as I look back now, she didn't want to be here anymore. That was her way out. Because clearly she wasn't enjoying this gift called life. And it's because of the decisions she's made and the people that she allowed to be in her life, etc. So you can choose better to where life can be more enjoyable. So here's what cancer is. And this is what causes other, I don't have the right words, but other issues like maladies, like physical body issues. Is when you have negative emotions, you get constricted. Now, let's look at this on a 3D level. What it physically does to your body is it tightens up your muscles, it tightens up your blood vessels, and things are not flowing. Your blood, everything is not flowing through your body naturally. See, when your blood goes through your muscles and you bounce around and exercise, your fat will, it's called, what are those things called? Your lymph nodes, okay? Those are like cotton balls or like filter. And what happens is when you jump around, see, they catch the bad stuff. And you get bad stuff in your cells and in your muscles. So when things are open and flowing, when you exercise, walk, do deep breathing, all of this stuff has a cleansing effect and it goes into your bloodstream and you urinate it out, okay? So if you do one thing, you want to be healthy, jump. Jump up and down, jumping jacks, jump rope. And if you can't do that, or jogging, like running, jogging, okay? And anything that squeezes the system, bounces the system, okay? Because it shakes all of the negative stuff out that goes into the bloodstream, goes out. So if you can't do that, swimming helps, okay? Another thing is you can get it's like a mini trampoline that you can jump up and down on. It's for one person. It's about, I don't know, I'm going to guess 2.5 feet circumference, in a circle. Just jump on that for 15-20 minutes a day. Just kind of bounce lightly. You don't even have to do it hard. And what it does is it loosens everything out of these filters, the debris, and it cleanses you out. And that's how you stay healthy. And then you drink about 2 tall glasses of water afterwards, because you have to replenish that so it flushes it out. Same thing with a massage. Again, a massage, it literally massages your lymph nodes and your muscles. So it's like you got a sponge and you're squeezing out what was in it. Okay, like let's say it's wet and got liquid in it. You squeeze it and it flushes it out. Okay, and then you want to drink fresh water to replace that. So stretching has the same effect, by the way. That's why it's really important to stretch 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day, because it flushes everything out. And that's why you're also supposed to drink water before, during, and after, because it flushes it out. And any kind of movement, jumping jacks, jumping up and down, jogging, going for walks, just shaking your arms out, shaking your legs out, all of that also loosens up the bundle of nerves that go from your brain all the way down through your body. And that's the whole thing, because when you loosen, it opens. And when you have open, everything can flow. The blood can flow through. The oxygen can flow through. Everything is flowing through and consistently cleansing, re-energizing, and refreshing. So when your muscles are relaxed, your arteries are relaxed, your veins are relaxed, your blood vessels are relaxed in your brain, your body, everywhere, and now things can flow through. Listen, so I'm making a picture here. I'm trying to explain something. It's just like open and flow. Now, if you have negative emotions attached, that constricts. Now things are tight, and now you can't flow. All those negative states that are underneath fear, shame, guilt, etc., all of those constrict energy. They tighten your muscles. They tighten your everything else. This is what causes cancer, because it causes a blockage, like a dam. Do you know why water in rivers and streams are so clean? Because they're constantly moving. The rocks, the pebbles, everything, the grains work as a filter. Okay, now, if you've ever had a fish tank where you had plants and fish, you had to balance it out, the bacteria and everything, and one thing you understand is you have to have a filter. So the bacteria acts as a filter. It eats up the negative stuff. And then you have to have water flow. A certain amount of water flow will keep everything clean. So it filters through the filter, catches in the filter. After a month, you take the filter out, you replace it with a fresh one. And that's the way life is. It's the circle of life. So one thing I learned about injuries is, okay, so my right shoulder, I had to have surgery on it a long time ago, and man, did it hurt. Because nobody really knew what it was, because the emergency room screwed up. They said, oh, it's just a bone bruise. And it wasn't. I had broken my shoulder, completely separated the shoulder, and had a couple splinters of bone. One of them was going right down on the nerve, so if I went to lift my arm, it would hurt like crazy. So I finally get surgery about a year or two later, and all of a sudden, oh, it is great. And it healed really fast. The doctor goes, oh, yeah, you'll be able to work out in 30 days. I'm like, are you sure? He goes, oh, yeah, 100%. I'm like, full-on bench press, push-ups. He goes, yep. And sure enough, he was right. And let me tell you something. I have never, ever, once had any issues with it at all. Nothing. You got to understand the amount of pain I was in and the amount of damage I did to my shoulder it's like I just assumed. And I talked to a doctor many, many years later. He goes, yeah, he goes, you're lucky. I'm like, he goes, I think he said something like 70 or 80% of those surgeries just are failures. Like the people just struggle for the rest of their life. They're in constant pain. I'm like, really? I go, wow, that never happened to me. Now, one of the things was my doctor who did the original surgery never said anything about this. Now, this guy, by introducing that, so if he had said it to his patients, like, hey, I got to let you know, like 70% of the patients end up in pain for the rest of their life, that he's installing that. That is a curse. Even though he's not trying to be a witch doctor or nothing like that. But that's the thing, like and if the person accepted that emotionally, boom, now they made that attachment. Now, where I was leading is this. I've had other injuries that were not bad at all. They hurt for 5 days or 6 days, and yet they nag 10, 15, 20 years later. And it's like, whenever it's cold, it hurts. And it's like weird because it wasn't a bad. Well, here's what it is. Its emotions are still attached to it. Negative emotions. Okay, I'll give you something. So I got ran over by a car 14 years ago. And for the most part, everything's healed up. And yet there are a couple spots left. I can feel them right now that are still there. And it kind of bugs me because, man, I have healed these other injuries that were just horrendous from that accident, right? Spinal injuries, discs damaged, etc. And yet those ones don't hurt. In fact, there's one that I can pop in really, really easy now. There's no pain. It kind of gets out of place and I pop it back in. So here's my point. Is I do have a couple of injuries that are still nagging, still hurt. Now, they don't hurt like they used to because I've healed a lot of the emotions around it. So all the other injuries that I had emotions around, because I did a lot of energy healing and emotional healing on that, they're gone. They don't hurt anymore. In fact, they've healed up 100%, like as if it never happened. Now, okay, I'm going to be really honest. I'm pissed off. Okay, I'm still upset that this happened to me and that the person who did it didn't stop and that it was the police believe it was attempted murder, which I wouldn't doubt it. And I'm still pissed off that they never got caught, that they never went to jail. Well, that is what is holding. In fact, as I'm making this video, I'm like, yeah, I got to do some therapy on that. That's what's holding on to the pain. See, the emotion is going to stay until you realize what you need to heal. There's an emotional component that you need to heal, or I need to heal from this. And once I do that, it'll be gone. Sometimes even the scars disappear. Okay, the scars that you could have for 10, 15, 12 years. I had a football coach who played football his whole life, and he had, he used to fight a lot when he was a kid, and he would get cut up and it would heal up, and the doctor's like, and they would stitch him up. It's like, yep, they got a scar now. He's like, no, it'll go away. The doctor's like, no, that's a really deep cut, and when you stitch it, this is what the doctors tell you. This is the curse or the spell. He's, no, once they stitch you up, that's going to cause a scar. He's, no, he goes, it'll go away. And he showed us his arm. He goes, I've never had a scar in my life, and yet I've been cut all over the place. And it was kind of incredible, this man that grew up in a very tough era, that played tough, did all the tough sports. Back then, they didn't have face masks, by the way, when he played. So he got hit in the face a lot, got cut a lot. And it was kind of incredible, like he didn't have any scars. Now, the medical societies, the doctors' medical expertise on this is, well, they're just different. Scientific studies, they're just different. What it really is, he didn't accept the curse. He didn't accept the spell. Now, I played a lot of sports and had a lot of injuries, bruises, like one time it was a shin, it was in kickboxing. I blocked this guy's kick, we went shin to shin, and it chipped my shin, actually. There was a chunk of bone in there for years, like I'm talking 15 years or something afterwards. And I remember going to this energy healing, and I've been going there for a while, and it hurt to run, especially right there, like it hurt the tendons and the muscles right there. And she did a series of energy healing on it, and then just one day I just noticed the pain. It's like I kind of forgot about it, and it's like there was no pain there. So when I walk or hike or whatever, it's just like there's nothing there. And then I noticed years later, I rubbed my fingers up and down the shin bone, like the bone is gone because it broke off, and then it kind of healed back, but there's this big bony lump. It's completely gone. Now watch this. So let's say you had a little brother and you were kids and he hit you in the side of your arm or forearm or leg with a baseball bat or with a stick, and he was angry at you. That angry energy goes into that part of your body and it stays. So here you are 15 years, 30 years later, you still got a pain right there, and you on an unconscious, see, this is why you need to meditate, because you'll start to be, oh, wait a minute. That's the same emotion, the same anger that I had when my brother hit me. Is there a connection? Yes, there's a connection. So here's the deal. If the emotion was intense enough over a period of 10, 15, 20 years, yeah, you can get cancer from that, and they may have to physically cut it out, which takes the emotion out with it. But why do that when you can just heal it? One of the things you can do is just sit with it. Just sit with it, like on the couch, laying in bed, and just be with that. It's like a child on that part of your body, and it's hurting. and it needs you to be there and understand its emotions. Don't say be happy, just let it be and be there in a nurturing, comforting, and the key word is opening, expansive way, and that will allow it to begin to heal and to integrate. And you may have dark skin around that area that for some reason you just can't get rid of, but once you heal it emotionally, boom, the dark skin goes away. So even people who take on, like narcissists who take on Leviathan or whatever, the Jezebel spirit or whatever, or, demonic entity, the reason why they did it was because inside they were hurting on some level. There was emotion or series of emotions. They were afraid. They felt alone in the world. They felt abandoned or whatever it was. If they can heal that, they won't need that entity anymore. And once they do that, they're going to kind of look at it like, yeah, I don't really need you. Because the reason why they took it on was because they felt it was a source of protection, or this is how I can survive and make it in the world, or protect myself and this mean, tough thing. And it's like, yeah, but it's not a very good way to go through life. And so, in all sincerity, once they heal that emotion, whatever it is, or series of emotions, boom, they're like, yeah, I don't need you anymore, and it's gone. So now let's talk about the woman in the Bible who Jesus healed, the woman who bled for 12 years. Now, my first question when I realized it was 12 years, was like, wait a minute, so she didn't bleed before that? So what happened? Like, even if she got an injury, well, the body knows how to heal itself completely, and I mean completely. So why didn't this stop? Like, when did it start? Like, what happened? So I can only surmise at this point because I actually haven't studied or read or heard anything other than she just was healed by Jesus. So something had to have happened, and it could be here's what it could be. So I do know that women, when they are, especially teenage girls, and it could be women older, like when they're really, really stressed, they can continuously bleed and it won't stop, etc. I actually did a healing session on a young lady, and she's actually in my... Actually, let me go there real quick. It's on my website. It's in my testimonials. I'm going to go to homepage. All the way to the right. Click on testimonials. She is going to be under energy healing testimonials. She didn't stop bleeding. Oh, no. I think she had the opposite where she couldn't bleed for a long... I'm talking like 5 or 6 months or longer. Well, once we healed that up, boom, the bleeding came back on a regular basis. So I remember in the movie, in the scene, and also in the Bible, where Jesus healed the woman, and it says she is clean, and Jesus said she is clean, or now she is clean. Well, that had a real huge societal connotation. I'm going to get to that next. So then some man walked up, or some young man walked up and goes, oh, she's unclean, and Jesus looks at him like he's pissed. He goes, she's clean, like he yelled it out. Because if she accepted what that young man said, it would have reversed Jesus' healing, and she would have continued to have bled. The real issue was really not the bleeding. The issue was she literally had an issue. And it's funny because almost, not all, but almost all, most mentions of her is, it says the woman who had the issue of blood for 12 years. Now it's like, why do they say it that way? It just sounds backwards. It's because it was an emotional issue. Now, if you watch The Chosen, when she was trying to go through the crowd to reach Jesus to just touch a tassel because she knew that would heal her of her issue, there was a man that said, no, I know who you are. You're the and I think it was one of the priests or the Sadducees, or what they called them. And he goes, no, and there was a guy before that had called the Sadducee. No, I know who you are. You're the unclean. And then the Sadducee came over and says, no, stay away from Jesus. You're unclean. And this is what people have been brainwashing, hypnotizing / putting a spell on. You're the unclean. And that was the issue. Number one, in society, if you were labeled as unclean, you weren't allowed to be around people. You couldn't touch people. Now imagine going through life not being hugged or touched or kissed or anything like that. Like, imagine how painful that would be. How lonely that would be. So here she is constantly being told for 12 years, you're unclean. And that was the emotional issue. She probably physically felt unclean, not just down there, but throughout her whole body. She just, oh, I'm this dirty person. And she felt this shame because of it. And here comes Jesus, this really high vibrating spiritual being, etc., on a very clean, high level, comes and touches her. And now she's clean. And instantly the bleeding stopped. It was like a weight, a 2-ton weight was taken off of her shoulders, off of her back, and all of a sudden her face lit up. She felt clean, she felt fresh, she felt good. Do you want to know what one of the most basic hypnosis techniques is that Hitler used and propaganda and narcissist is they just keep repeating the same thing over and over and over because they know eventually, unless you're really strong, it's going to sink in. And once something sinks in, it starts to manifest physical ailments. So when she was a young woman, she probably just had a normal period. And then it probably extended because she was stressed or because, she didn't have enough food or enough nutrition or who knows. And then they started telling her, oh, you're unclean. You're the unclean. So then some caring family member probably said, hey, you should go probably see the priest and let the priest, diagnose you and tell you what's going on. Oh, you're unclean. And then literally what they did was they tied this thing around her waist, etc. And she was labeled. And her unconscious mind accepted it. Now her family's telling her friends, oh, she's unclean. And now she's hearing this. Now it's getting embedded in like literally a hypnotic command. So, as I've said in past videos, once your unconscious mind accepts something to be true, even if it's not at all, it will start to produce those results. Because that's what the unconscious mind does. That's its job. It goes, oh, okay, so this is what we believe now? Got it. I'm on it. So this is why the worst thing in the world someone can do to another human being is to shame them, is to label them. Once someone's unconscious mind accepts that label, it's over. I mean, it's not over if they could work with someone like me or someone who really knows how to shift this. Boom, they'll come back, okay? And that's what Jesus did with this woman. And all of a sudden, boom, she is now cleansed. She is now fresh. She is now clean. So what ends up happening is she ends up going around. She asked one of the disciples for a knife, and they understood why. So she went around the corner, kind of in an alley, and she goes underneath her dress or skirt, and she cuts this big, thick rope thing off that was wrapped around down there, and she cuts it off. And then what she does, she goes into this business or building or home, and she throws it in the fire to burn it for good. Now it is gone. It is done. And then she's happy and she's walking towards the water, and she's just walking in towards the water. She's taking off her head thing. She's taking off her cloak, and she just walks in the water about 2.5 feet deep. And she turns around and she falls back and splashes in the water, and now she is completely cleansed and cleaned. Now you might think, but what if someone else tells her she's unclean and they keep no? Because she has listen closely, the authority of God himself touched her and told her to her face, you are clean. That will override any priest, any parent, any friend, any neighbor, any bully, anything. So when Jesus said out loud to that guy that tried to say, no, she's unclean, Jesus goes, she's clean. The whole crowd heard that in that town. And here's what happens. Now they're like, oh, okay, she's clean. And that will create that. I recognized after my car accident that I literally associated God with doctors. Okay? How do I know that? Because from the head injury, I remember I said to my goddaughter one day, she goes, where are you going? I was like, oh, I got to go see my God. And she looked at me, she goes, what? I go, I have an appointment with my God. I have to go see my God. She's like, what are you talking about? And I looked at her like what do you, because, but in my head, I was trying to say doctor. But see, when you have head injuries, the wrong words will come out in the wrong order sometimes too. Okay, and that definitely happened to me for years. And so it didn't dawn on me until I got to my doctor's, and I start laughing. He's like, "What?" My goddaughter goes, "Where are you going?" And I kept telling her I have to go see my God, and he didn't get it. He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "You." He goes, "What?" I go, "I was trying to say doctor, but I kept saying God." He goes, "Oh, well, I don't mind being." Now that doctor, that's the greatest. That guy was so cool, best doctor I ever had. So he just laughed about it. He goes, "Yeah, I don't mind being called God." So essentially what happened was, on an unconscious level, what I associated with God or with the doctor was God. And that's the way I used to look at doctors. Like, well, if they say it must be true. Because it was literally like ever since a child, I just like, oh, they're basically gods. So be very careful when you listen to your doctor, okay? They might mean well, but they're going to say, here's your label for life. You got to take this medication. And the medication will kill you. It'll poison you slowly over time. I'd be really careful of accepting any negative diagnosis. If it's temporary, where, take penicillin for 2 weeks and you'll be fine and that's it, you'll be healed. Okay, that's fine. But be very careful otherwise, okay? Another thing is, especially back then, I think even today, if someone's a priest, a pastor, or a minister, they are not gods. They are humans. They are fallible. They make mistakes. They are not perfect. They are not God. They are normal people. Do not let them label you with anything, ever, okay? Do not let them shame you. Do not. It's like if you are around someone who shames you, get away, because that's the whole deal that narcissists do to cause a lot of damage in your body, physically and emotionally. You know, one of the things you learn from all kinds of cultures, from American Indians to Hawaiians to Buddhist monks, to pretty much anything, even what she did in the video that I'm realizing right now, once she cut that cloth off, she threw it in the fire. She was done. So you can literally throw things away or write down the issue on a piece of paper and throw it in a fire, burn it with a match, burn it with a lighter, and it is done. So a lot of you are like, well, what do I do? Whatever you want. If you believe that this magic pill will work, guess what? It will work. Doctors are nothing more than faith healers. That's what they are. They have faith in these pills that they've never studied biologically on a molecular level. They're just like, they read something that is sent to them from the manufacturer, from the medical society, and go, oh, okay. Well, this says this does that. Okay, so I'm going to prescribe it. Because on the other hand, for some people, it doesn't help them at all. It doesn't do anything. And then there's the all-famous placebo effect, which we learned in psychology. I think it was Psychology 101, the very first class. Is for some reason they can prescribe sugar pills and tell them it's the real medication, and it heals people of cancer. And yet there are times when they prescribe the real medicine to people, and it doesn't heal them of cancer, even though that's what it's supposed to do. If ye believe, you shall receive whatever you ask for in prayer. Jesus Christ. If you are in hell and you are suffering and all you can imagine is being in heaven or being up on earth again by a nice spring, clean, clear, cool water, boom, it happens. If someone can convince you that you're going to hell, you will. If you take on that label, if you take on that belief. It's just a creation. It's just a painting. Everything is creation. We are living inside creation, and that is the point and purpose of all of this. Your thoughts create. You are living inside the source of the energy that creates. We are creators. This is creation. Our paintbrush is our thoughts. Our painting, our paints, our colors are our emotions. Our emotions are the feelings. It's like that is the paint that the artist dips its paintbrush in. Your emotions create the art. They create your thoughts. You are the creator. You always have been. Now, I don't mean you're God, but you are the creator of your thoughts and your emotions. The most important thing Tony Robbins ever said to us was, become the master of creating good emotions. Get really good at creating emotions. And that's why I teach you deep breathing techniques, stretching, thinking this way, picture it. I mean, a lot of my videos, in fact, this video right here is all about, hey, here's another tool or series of tools on how to create a better life, how to feel better, how to create better emotions. Your number one goal should not be about all this other external stuff. It's like, well, how do I make myself feel good emotionally and get better and better and better at that? Become the master of creating good emotions. So, what is that one thing that if you were to heal and completely let go, that would allow you to thrive in life? Is it shame? Is it hurt? Like that woman, she felt unclean. She did not feel clean. And once Christ touched her, it completely cleansed her. If you guys truly want to change your life, if you want help with this, hire me. This is what I do for a living. This is what I've studied and mastered. Remember, kick ass, have fun, and make it happen. Alright, I'm just being funny there. Or am I? Alright, God bless you guys. Hey, if you like this video, click subscribe, click the like button, make a comment, and if you want, go ahead and make a donation. There is a donation link right there in the description box below the video. It's a PayPal link. God bless you guys. Thank you for watching this video and listening. I will see you in the next video. Bye.